Hey there! I've been in the language learning community for 28 years, but who is counting? Let me tell you, trying to learn English, and then French, picked up Japanese, then I went for Mandarin. Lots of different languages, loads of fun. But one thing I've noticed is that in all of these years, of course, I've seen all sorts of situations that really annoyed me, but not as much as I've seen in the last few years. Why? Because of the rise of influencers or language geniuses on YouTube. There are really two types of situations that usually get on my nerves, as someone who's dedicated a big chunk of his life really to the passion that is learning languages, because of the fact that they are, after all, a communicative system. So they put you in contact with people that think differently, have a different background. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's great. But there are two things that really annoy me. Thing number one is, of course, the rise of all of these fake polyglots, and they piss me off. And I've already got a video about it, so I'm not gonna dive into it, but generally speaking, just for reference, I'm talking about those people. They memorize one sentence, usually the same sentence, in 15 different languages, then they turn on the camera, they heavily jump cut it because they suck at memorizing too, apparently. And then they're like, look at this guy, what a genius, he can speak 15 languages. So here's the thing, put those people to the baptism of fire of languages, which is in front of a native, in front of everybody, in public, not in front of a camera where you can jump cut things up, there you go, broken English, I'm gonna leave it there. For authenticity, put them in front of a native, they will collapse, because it takes years to reach to a point where you are confident with your language skills. Doesn't mean you're perfect, but it means that you have had so much experience, actual communicative experience with real natives, and so much experience that now you're comfortable when you speak to them. And generally speaking, due to a lot of practice, you also understand what they say back, and that's what it is. But they don't do that, because one of the problems with fake polyglots is that they don't want to wait. Because of course, if you can put like 8 years, maybe 6 years, maybe 4 years, you're extremely talented into a language, you get to a very, very high level. You know, it takes time, but then it's very rewarding. And the thing about people, I think in our day and age, probably also due to all of this technology that gives us everything. So we don't have a situation whereby, as a culture, worldwide really, globally, we're not really in a situation where you want to have gratification, but first you need to put in the hard work. No, we want everything and we want it now. And this happens in the language community too. And you have people that want the glory, but no sacrifice. So do the little tricks. So people are going to be like, man, you're amazing. And of course, the people that say, oh my gosh, your Mandarin is so fluent, don't speak Mandarin. So of course, you know, they don't know. Or I remember this polyglot speaking Italian, and it was a mess. I'm Italian. But of course, people who don't understand that, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you speak Italian as well as, and then add 50 languages. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but his Italian is not good. I mean, it really isn't. So maybe instead of picking up 40 languages just to impress people on the internet, pick 3. If you really want to be someone who you're passionate. I'm not saying pick 1, pick 3. Pick 3, reach a real good level, and then maybe start working on the 4th. But no, they have to have it all. And this is not even the topic of this video, because I've already made videos complaining about the fake polyglots and all of this situation whereby they just memorize the sentence, they say it, and that's it. No, there is another phenomenon that happens on YouTube, and unfortunately it also connects to people who are actually pretty good, but they got taken into the vortex. And it's the, oh, I'm going to surprise the Asians with my skills that some people don't even have. So there are a lot of videos where that are titled like, white guy amazes Chinese with his fluent or perfect Chinese, or you have white guy speaks incredible Japanese, everyone is amazed. And you have the thumbnails. Oh my gosh, it begins with the thumbnails, and I already start freaking scratching myself, everything. Even in the thumbnail, you have all of these like pog faces of like the Chinese or the Koreans or the Japanese. They're all like, you speak my language. Sometimes they even put it like 3 red arrows, the pog face. Oh my gosh, which, I mean, occasionally I used to, but not in these contexts. Like, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Also because I've seen videos where the speaker goes into a Japanese whatever, either a restaurant or a shop, they say something in Japanese, very basic, mind you, and not even pronounced that well, but they don't know that because Donner-Kruger effect, of course. And then the Japanese person doesn't even react that shocked. They look at him and they're like, they continue the conversation as usual. Like they say, okay, €5, thanks, or 5 yen, whatever the price is. But still, they put the very same person with either a shocked face, or maybe they're looking down, but arrow, amazed. I mean, it's fake. It's fake and it's annoying. It's annoying as shit. And the reason is, first, because once again, it's one of those situations where, well, you think it's so amazing that you speak Japanese, but then again, you're only saying 3 sentences that you most likely learned a second ago. I don't know, it must be annoying to the people too, particularly when it's like annoying influencers, because some people enjoy it. Like, for example, if you watch Oriental Pearl, she is really good. I mean, she's a good speaker of Japanese. She's a really good speaker of Mandarin. And when she goes around and she speaks to people, she still uses that kind of title, those kind of titles, which is a little annoying for me, but at least she's got the skill. You know what I mean? And you see sometimes, I saw this video of hers and she was in Yokohama. It's in Japan, of course, but it has, I think, one of the biggest Chinatowns in the world, definitely in Japan. I've been there. And she goes in there and then she starts talking to the Chinese in Japan in Mandarin. And of course, they're going to be like, oh, they appreciate it very much because they're like, this is a foreigner. Besides, she's blonde, so she looks even more foreign from an Asian perspective. And then, she starts speaking Mandarin in a country where she doesn't really need to. And so you can see that they appreciate it, they enjoy it, they have fun. As long as the people are having fun as well, then great. But there are so many situations where you see that they don't speak it, they don't speak Mandarin, they don't speak Japanese, they're just learning a couple of sentences and they want to go there and be like, oh look, I said good morning, be impressed. And I'm thinking, yeah, and that Chinese or Japanese or Korean, well, they learned your entire freaking language. You're not praising them. You take it for granted. But you learned one word? Oh my gosh. And unfortunately, I think this phenomenon, since it draws in clicks, 'cause people enjoy it, differently from the fake polyglots, which of course, if they're fake, but this one includes people that are skilled. For instance, Xiaoma, within the Mandarin speaking community. Xiaoma is a very decent speaker of Mandarin. I mean, I don't think he's the best speaker of Mandarin. Someone like Dashan, kind of a little older, I think he's a better speaker of Mandarin. And as a Mandarin teacher, Xiaoma is not really, he's more of an entertainer, but if you want a teacher, Ben from Learn Chinese Now, I think is a better teacher. And in general, like, who speaks better Mandarin between the two, I'm not really sure, because I would have to see them speak in a real scenario rather than something they may have rehearsed. But maybe Ben is a better speaker than Xiaoma. Not sure. Pronunciation-wise, I think Ben is better. When it comes to fluency, difficult to tell. They're both very fluent. But Xiaoma just has this frigging white guy, amazes everyone. Everyone is shocked by perfect Mandarin. And even the idea of writing perfect Mandarin, I know he does it for the clicks. I know he explains it in his videos. I just hate it. Now, from the Mandarin-speaking community, this has bled into the Japanese-speaking community with personalities such as Matt vs. Japan, whom I believe has disappeared, and I've got a video about him actually because I was a little intrigued by what the heck happened to this guy. I mean, very, very skilled speaker of Japanese, but he has a lot of content like that too. White guy amazes with perfect Japanese, and then he goes in there. And with the Japanese, even more so than with the Chinese, you really only need to say good morning, and they will tell you, Nihongo jouzu desu ne. They will tell you you're amazing. Nihongo ryuchou, rippa, whatever. Lots of different ways. And it's just a cultural thing. They do that. And it's nice, of course, to see then either the American, the Italian, the French guy, whoever it is, the African guy who's speaking Japanese. It's nice to see them reject the compliment, because that's what you do in the culture. So you don't really say thank you. You usually deny it, even though you know you're good. Instead, sometimes you see them saying, oh, thank you. And then I'm like, yeah, you just demonstrated you don't understand the social linguistic aspect of learning a language, which is not just a skin for your own language, where you need to kind of dive into how people speak it realistically and naturally in that culture. So already that kind of defeated the whole purpose of the video. If you say a sentence in Japanese, they tell you Nihongo jouzu, and then you're like, arigato. Yeah, that doesn't. No. Anyways, and I'd like to underline, I'm not necessarily against publishing conversations that you have with natives, because those could be great for language learners, to see how someone with a high level interacts with native speakers, and then you can see, oh gosh, that's how he said it. For example, how he asked about prices in a hotel, or how he talked about what he wanted to eat, how he placed an order. Now that's absolutely fine. It's the whole, look how amazed the Asians are when I speak Mandarin, when I speak Korean, when I speak Japanese, or when I speak this dialect that nobody speaks apart from 3 people in the mountains and me even. No, you don't. That's the part that I find annoying. And unfortunately, how it always happens when it comes to platforms or social media, it becomes an entertainment thing. It doesn't become really something truly connected to language learning anymore. It just becomes something that needs to draw the clicks, because clicks transform into money, money transforms into fame, and all of this is accompanied by a boosting of your ego, which of course we all have. We are YouTubers. We have an ego. It is what it is. No point denying that. But sometimes I feel that people feed into their ego so much that even if they don't have the skill, so I'm not talking about Oriental Pearl, I'm talking about Map versus Japan, I'm absolutely not talking about Ben, of course, but people who perhaps don't have the skill, but now they need to keep up their mask, their travesty, because they made one video, it got 300,000 views, and maybe their regular content gets 2,000 views, and on that video, they did this. They were, oh look, I shocked this Asian guy, or this person in the streets, and with my perfect sentence to order gyoza, and now they're all amazed, and people in the comments, they keep telling me I'm good, and that becomes addictive. I think there has to be, I'm not a psychology expert, but there has to be some form of psychological addiction, not only at a neurological level, but who knows, maybe even chemically in the body, because they want more. They want the clout, they want the money, but most of all, I think they want that recognition that they don't deserve. And it's not that they don't deserve, because the only way you get praised is by, putting 10 years into a language and being amazing. No. I think you should be praised even if you say one sentence right, or you're just putting in the hard work. But it's the clout with this that makes it so fake. Also because, again, they're pretending to have a level they don't have. And all of that pretending, I think, can only harm the language community, because what it can do, and that's probably a side effect of all this, which worries me as a language teacher, is the fact that then people who don't know that that's fake and fall for it, they will look at that and they'll think, wow, this guy's amazing. This guy is fantastic. Look how everyone is amazed. I want to be like him. So they click and check the channel. And oftentimes, you know what happens with channels that do this kind of thing? And they don't have the skill, they will say, oh, how I learned Chinese in 2 weeks, how I learned Mandarin in 6 months, how I learned Italian in 3 days. And that's demoralizing for people, because if they believe it, then they will compare it to themselves, and it's of course an unfair comparison because it's bullshit. And then they'll see, wait, this person only put a month, 30 days, 2 weeks, and then they go around and speak to a Japanese and they're all amazed, and then I try it and I don't understand anything, and what I say, maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but people don't understand it, so I'm bad. I didn't do it in 2 weeks, I didn't do it in a month, I've been doing this for 6 months, I've been doing this for a year, and I still don't feel confident to go around with a phone and film myself speaking to a native Japanese speaker or a Mandarin speaker, because I don't understand them when they speak back to me. But here's the thing, neither do them. It's all heavily jump cut. They definitely didn't include the times that it didn't work, because the person kept asking questions and then they didn't know what they were saying. They cut that one out. And in general, no, it's not possible to become fluent in 6 weeks, particularly in such a difficult language if you have no prior knowledge. And you're absolutely fine if it takes you time, because guess what? Language learning is difficult because it takes consistency and it takes not quitting. And if people quit after a month, after 2 months, then they'll never get there. It's just a matter of you need to stick to it. And as long as it's possibly a daily practice and you keep up with it and you do your best, you don't have to be a genius with 40 languages. You don't even have to be extremely talented. If you are, fantastic. It's going to be a walk in the park for you. But even if you're not, you're just a regular guy or a regular girl with a passion. If you stick to it and put the work, it's going to take a few years, but you will. You will see the results in 6 months, in a year. But it's not going to be, oh, I'm so fluent and people think I'm native. That's not going to happen unless you are a language freak. But if you after 2 years, you'll start to become confident about it, depending on the language. Of course, I'm just generalizing here. That's how it was for me. After 2 years of Japanese, I started to feel like I could really engage in a conversation without being afraid of not understanding or not being understood. But then after 4 years, I already felt fluent. Also because 2 of those 4 years I spent in Japan, which is something I always advocate. You've got to spend time in the country, in a country that speaks the language that you're trying to learn. Of course, with English, you have more choice and options than you do with, if you're trying to learn Italian, you just got to go to Italy or Switzerland, I suppose. But in general, You know, if you want to learn Mandarin, just go to Taiwan, go to China, go to somewhere they speak it and spend some time there. The longer you stay in that country, the faster your progress will be, particularly if you already go there with a strong foundation, which is, I have videos about this, so I won't go into it. Anyways, of course, I'm not trying to cancel people. I'm not trying to say that people shouldn't be allowed to do. Not everyone can do anything. I mean, I'm all for freedom of speech and freedom of whatever you want to do, but I am also free to say that these kind of videos, white guy amazes all the Japanese, oh my gosh, piss me off. Stay real.